Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about the harsh truth about being your own lawyer. Now, I'm probably going to get a lot of pushback from this one, and I kind of hope I do. And the reason for that is simple, because I think too many people think they can do it themselves. Now, keep in mind, I am not an elitist person. I do not believe that any one person is better than another simply because of their education or title. These are pragmatic and conscientious reasons why you should not be your own attorney. Before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Taylor Darcy, where I help you create the business of your dreams. So welcome. I'm grateful to have you. We go live every weekday except for holidays, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. So please stop in and join me to discuss and to be a part of the conversation. I look forward to getting to know you and helping you to get your business where you want it to be. Don't forget to subscribe and or like the channel if you'd like to see more of these videos. And don't forget to hit that bell icon because YouTube thinks that's crazy or thinks that you need one extra step in order to say that you don't. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. The number one reason why you should not be your own attorney, and this is the very truest reason of them all, is you don't know what you don't know. There are a lot of procedural steps that are required for being your own attorney in court cases. And there's a lot of knowledge that you may not have as a business owner in drafting contracts. So this is true no matter whether you're looking for a business attorney or whether you're trying to do something yourself DIY on the web or whether you're trying to do it for a court case, pro se, pro per, that type of thing. So keep this in mind, is that the amount of knowledge that you have versus the amount of knowledge that most attorneys have is very different. And I'm not suggesting that you can't, they're not necessarily smarter than you. That isn't what I'm implying at all. I'm simply saying this is what we went to school for and we've trained for. Now, are all attorneys equal and should you absolutely rely on them? No, and trust but verify. So keep that in mind, that it's, you should do your own due diligence, but their expectations is very different than yours. And here's the other reason, or not, this is part of that, is that courts don't look at you any better as a pro se litigant than as if you're a attorney. What do I mean by that? They don't give you breaks just because you're representing yourself. Their expectation is that you are going to do your due diligence yourself. And so there's a lot of time that you're going to spend trying to figure things out and that you're going to get wrong, and it's going to hurt you or your court case. And then the next reason is don't be penny wise and pound foolish. I say it repeatedly, but it needs to be said constantly because people think that saving money in this instance is the best course of action. And sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, sometimes that's true. Sometimes saving money and doing it yourself does make sense. But when you're going up, especially if you're going up against an attorney on the other side, the last thing you want to do is try to do it yourself, because more often than not, and this brings me to my next point, you're going to lose or you're going to have a bad transaction, whichever side of things. Because especially if the other party has an attorney, they already know a lot more than you do. They've studied it. That's what they've been about. They've been either doing it for law school plus periods of time outside of law school. They've honed their craft. They get better at it. And presumably they enjoy what they do. Now, not always, but that's generally how it works. The idea that you're going to do better than them just doesn't make sense. And the same is true, and I would be saying the same thing for plumbers, electricians, doctors, any type of professional, anything. I'm going to defer to their judgment for that reason, because they've spent the time and energy to try to be the best or better at than I am. And this, it's like you don't go to a plumber for electrical needs, right? You don't go to a doctor for legal needs. You go to an attorney. And that's really what I'm talking about by not being penny wise and pound foolish. We can solve problems in less time because of our expertise than you can. Keep that in mind, is that this is one of those areas that you really want to be be careful that you don't spend little money to save now and then end up costing you more later. And I have clients where they tried doing it on their own and they end up coming to me and I fix it and it costs them more money than if they'd have just done it right the first time. And what do I mean by that? So pretty simply put, if it costs you, and I'm just using this as a for instance, $100, and then it costs me, and I'm not saying this is what it'll be, but $500, then you've just spent $600 on something that I could have done for $500 and saved you that 100. And again, I don't know what it is that you're talking about, but that is a very valid point that you need to keep in mind when you're doing your calculations on whether or not you can, and I use this term loosely, quote unquote, afford an attorney. Because if you do it wrong and it hurts you, the consequences can be drastic. I mean, just absolutely expensive. There are things that can, for instance, statute of limitations that apply in court cases, latches, and other types of things. So there's a lot of things that you don't know that could negatively affect you from a penny wise, pound foolish, but also from you're more likely going to lose if you're going up against another attorney, or the outcome isn't going to be great. The next thing that you want to consider is, what is your peace of mind worth to you? Like, we go through this process to become attorneys. And so we take that burden on ourselves. At least I do. I can't speak for other attorneys, but I can speak for myself. And so when I'm dealing with your problems or your issues, whatever it is that I'm trying to help you with, I think about it almost constantly. And I'm analyzing it. I'm trying to find a solution. I'm trying to narrow down the details so that I can get you the best outcome possible. And so you're dealing with it from an emotional standpoint. I'm dealing it with from an analytical and professional standpoint, in the hopes that it alleviates your emotional pain. I'm here to help you, and so that you can avoid the emotional pain that goes with dealing with your problem. That is a very simple way of looking at it. And so what is that worth to you? What is your peace of mind worth? What is that value to you? And in some instances, it could be a lot. In some instances, it's not. And I'm not here to judge. I'm just simply telling you that that's the reality. That's the truth of it. What is your peace of mind worth to you? The next thing and last thing is that it's not the highest, best use of your time to be an attorney when there are plenty of attorneys to help you. For instance, if you are a plumber and you could be out working, making money, rather than sitting in court, or rather than trying to draft a contract that could take you hours to do, so you could be making money instead of losing money, that's the best use. Plus, that's what you love to do. That's the highest, best use of your time. You can spend 8 hours being a plumber, or 8 hours being an attorney that you hate. And so plumbing that you presumably like is a better fit, or whatever job that you're looking at. Spend your time doing what you want to do instead of that, because I'll guarantee you, we enjoyed this a lot more than you will. Like, that's just, I mean, we may not love it, but I mean, like, most of us not just love the argument or love the crafting, but like when I'm looking at a contract or I'm looking at something that I'm drafting, I get into the words and the language, and I get into the how we're presenting to others and how we're presenting to it. We're getting into those little finite details of language that you may not care about and you may not want, because that's not what you do, right? And the same thing goes with accounting, numbers, doctors, prescriptions, that type of thing. So keep these in mind, is that your highest and best use of time is to be what you want to be. If you're an artist, and I'm just, again, another one, I think you'd much rather be painting a something or drawing or whatever it is that you do with your graphic, web, whatever it is. That's the best use of your time, not trying to be an attorney. Keep these things in mind, whether or not you think you should be your own attorney. And the truth is, and I have to emphasize this, the truth, absolute truth is, you should not be your attorney in almost every instance. There are exceptions, but I will go out on a limb here and say that those exceptions are rare. And if you think you should at least consult an attorney to find out if that should be a real reason for you to do it. Money should not be it, because borrowing money to pay someone to do a job for you that will save you money and allow you to do the work that you love or work that you want to do is a much better option than getting forms off the internet that are junk most of the time, that aren't going to protect you. And the other factor is that you're going to get potentially a really bad outcome unnecessarily. So that's really what it comes down to. So use these tips and think about it, what it means to you in the larger context of being successful. If I can solve a problem for you that would take you 40 hours to fix, and I can solve it in 4 hours, that's worth it. These are just some of the things, but the harsh truth is almost always you should hire an attorney for your legal needs, just like you would go to a doctor for your medical needs. So keep these tips in mind. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I answer them generally as quick as humanly possible. I go live every weekday, Monday through Friday, except for holidays, and I look forward to talking with you soon. Don't forget to subscribe and like the channel and hit that bell icon. We'll talk to you later.